Hi everybody. About my research group, I work in the environmental engineering area. We develop technology to solve problems in the environment, particularly water quality and solid waste management, industrial wastewater treatment, and to some extent soil contamination. And we not only look at treatment but also look at recovery of value added products from waste material and wastewater. So this domain itself is very closely related to making the world a better place. So naturally, I think societal outreach is part of environmental engineers research. So particularly when we are going to look at taking not just stopping with research but also translating this ideas from lab to field. So over the last 10 years I have been shifting my focus to this translational research from the fundamental research, and that has given a lot of it has actually, I would say, transformed me as a person. So and that is what I am actually pushing and motivating all my students to do. As part of their research, there should be always at least the thought process of how to take it to the field. If not, you can't accomplish everything in your 4 or 5 years of research, but then all the research which you do should be aimed at translating it to the field at some point of time. This I'm saying particularly as a researcher from India. This is even more important because most of the time if we look around the lab, right from the small instruments and the large instruments, what you use, they're all imported, starting from that, okay? And most of the time we look at literature, we try to mimic what others do, and if you go and buy a product even outside, most of them are we prefer imported products. We think that it has a larger value for your money, okay? So this basically this idea has to change, this practice has to change, and we become slaves to the Western world if we start just importing equipments and ideas from the Western world. So everything has to be indigenous. The government is also looking at Make in India initiatives. It's pushing for Make in India initiatives. So it is important for India to develop our own technology, because the other most important thing is, apart from national pride, is the cost. As in India, we cannot afford to continuously keep buying these products from outside, and that is why I said we become slaves of the Western market, okay? And like if you buy an equipment, it doesn't end there. You have to buy components from them, you have to get an AMC from them, and so you become a slave, lifelong slave. As long as the product is there with you, you end up just continuously paying money. So to change all this, I think we need to have technology which can be developed in India, so the costs are low and we don't depend on others for refurbishing the products. The societal outreach programs, what I have been involved in, I'm very happy to say that we work in a niche area of groundwater contamination and finding solutions for remediating this contaminated groundwater. This is very it's very new to India, particularly the remediation. We do a lot of wastewater treatment and river water treatment, river water contamination assessment and all that. But below the ground is something which nobody sees. So most of the time the contamination which happens below the ground, it is like out of sight, out of mind. Nobody bothers unless it hits us in terms of epidemic or a lot of health related issues. And we've seen that happen in many places around industrial sites. This area of research and outreach is what I've been doing the last 4 years. We have visited and investigated several industrial sites across India, and the more investigations we do, the more findings we get it's an alarming situation. Our groundwater is contaminated with not only bacterial contamination due to improper sanitation, which we often hear, but a large amount of heavy metals, organics. Of late, we are also seeing very persistent chemicals called forever chemicals, the ones which come out of our the materials we use is simple, like Teflon coated pans. Okay, they release a lot of PFAS. It's one of the forever chemicals. By the name itself, we can know that it is persistent chemical. It's very difficult to get it out of the environment. So the more we investigate and the more chemicals which are there in the environment, we are bringing into the environment, we have more problems to solve. So it is important that we, apart from doing research and finding solutions to treat this contamination, we also have to do a lot of awareness programs. So I do write a lot about these contaminants in articles other than research papers, so that the common people are aware of these problems. And as I said, we also develop technology. One of the technologies we developed is for plastic waste management, particularly the non-recyclable plastic waste like your chips packets and thin plastics, which has no recycle value. We try to convert that into fuel oil, which has a high value in the industry. So this way the loop is completed. Okay, now everybody talks about circular economy. This is the circular economy model for non-recyclable plastics. The other program which I've been involved over the last 3 years is the Carbon Zero Challenge, which some of you may be familiar with and who have been part of it. This is basically to inspire young minds to think about solving environmental problems with very low carbon footprint solutions. The idea behind this is whenever we create solutions in the lab, we only think about solving the problem. But then it doesn't reach the industry or the society because it becomes expensive. Either it is requires a large power consumption or chemical consumption, and finally the industry doesn't adopt it and they continue to let out the waste into the environment. So if we can only have a win-win situation if the industry voluntarily tries to adopt technologies to protect the environment. And this will happen if the technology is low cost and if the technology can make them recover products and make it more economically profitable for them. That would be the best case scenario. So that is what we challenge the young minds to do. Come up with low carbon technologies, low chemical technologies, okay, and recovering value added products, okay, and then demonstrate this technology at a scaled up version with a prototype. We fund the teams for the prototypes, and the industry is invited to come and see the prototypes so that they appreciate it at that scale and then adopt it in their industry. So far 50 teams have been funded with 5 lakhs each, and we have funded about 8 of these teams to go and make a startup out of their idea with 10 lakhs each. So this was a big hit, and until pre-COVID we were doing this. We look forward to working with the student teams again once COVID norms are completely relaxed and students are back in campus. So usually for all these initiatives, we depend mostly on CSR funds, which has been a big plus. It has been very, very instrumental in bringing these ideas to a reality, because Carbon Zero is at the tune of 2.5 crores because we fund so many teams. So the plastic project, which is now a waste startup named Samudyoga Waste Chakra, had to build its first plant to show everybody that the idea is scalable. So it requires about 1 crore. So all this money comes from mostly socially relevant projects sponsored by corporates. So we are really thankful for this whole program of CSR and IITM's office of which connects us, the Dean of Alumni and Corporate Affairs, right? Corporate Relations. So their office supports the connections. It makes the connections between the corporates and the researchers. Basically, we just have to plan smartly to balance research and your outreach activities. Okay, so you tie it to the research, so it's not completely two different domains. Okay, so we only develop a lot of technology and we do research in water and waste areas, which is directly applicable to the society. And students get involved in both the development of technology through their research, and they also get involved in the field projects, which helps them develop better technologies which are more adaptable to the real world environment. So there is a constant communication between the field and the lab, with the students and project staffs working together. So the funding actually comes, funding agencies, particularly the DST and other national funding agencies, fund the research part of it, and we look at corporates for funding the field part of it. So we just have to plan it effectively for funding both the students and the project staff and all the other infrastructure. Challenges I have faced during this journey. Yes, in environmental area it is quite tricky because when you find something wrong, most of the time you cannot openly report it. No? So it's kind of, you are in a paradox situation. Industry, sometimes even the government sector, public sector industries are at fault, right? So these are the tricky situations you have to face. But then as a society, as a citizen, you cannot just put things behind and move forward. So we have to play a delicate balance. So one approach I would advise young researchers to do is to go and publish it in a either in a news article or in a research publication. Okay, and then it is out there. No, it's not you reporting to the authorities, but then the facts and figures are out there. And so one incident happened in Chennai where we did investigations. It was National Green Tribunal had case on oil spill contamination in Chennai, and the report we submitted had to go to the National Green Tribunal. So it made our job easy. So once it was in the National Green Tribunal, it becomes public domain, and so everybody gets to know about it. So similarly, our research papers are also public domain. It can be accessed by anybody. And the assessment we did on risk to the people, cancer risk to the people who are exposed, came as a research publication. And the very next day, the media picked it up. So you don't really have to go to the media directly and get into a controversial situation. So there are other ways in which we can communicate this indirectly. Okay, so working in a central government organization, we also have to be a little careful about disclosing some of the data. Okay, but constantly, if you keep working on solutions, you are not just showing the problem, but you also show the solution. So when the National Green Tribunal picked up on the oil sector for polluting, they also asked them to go and remediate, and they came back to us asking for solutions for remediation. So it always has to be a balancing act. You just not complain and just show the problem, but also show the solution. Okay, we'll go to the fun questions. Yeah. If you were not in STEM, what job would have ended up with? So yeah, medical field was something which I was a little passionate about in school. Okay, and fortunately or unfortunately, I was not able to go into the medical field. But now I'm happy that I'm working in an area close to medical field, right? We are preventing diseases from happening through our technology, so people don't end up in hospitals. So somewhere I think it has rubbed off on me. Typical Saturday evening. Typical Saturday evening is generally at home. Maybe we watch a movie or we binge watch on Netflix. Usually it's my daughter and me, so it's like unwinding time. Sometimes we go out for a movie or to Phoenix Mall, the closest shopping center. Any advice you want to give to the young scholars? Yeah, young scholars, particularly women scholars, I would like to tell you to plan your life. If you want to do PhD, if you're starting your PhD, or you're even in the middle of your PhD, I think some of you are at different stages. So I think plan to have a balanced personal life and a research or a career in future, and be open to your partners and your extended family also. Talk to them about your research. I've had a lot of women research scholars work with me, and everybody had to go through tough times balancing research and family. That the reason is the family doesn't accept completely, or many times the family is not fully aware of what research is. I think that communication has to be very clear right from the beginning, before you enter into a relationship or before you get married. Okay, so research is a little different than a 9-to-5 job, and so you have to plan your family and your career. Make the communication channels very clear, and make their expectations, their expectations from you and your expectations from them has to be sorted out right from the beginning. So they don't enter into a relationship, or the in-laws also, they don't come with some expectations and then they get disappointed, and that's when all the trouble starts, right? So give them a timeline and communicate to them what is expected, what your role is as a research scholar. Okay, so then everything will be at least 50% solved, and you can do your research without the tensions of other issues coming from the family side. If you are given a chance to go back and undo something in your life, what would it be? This is again a very tricky question. Yeah, to be honest, now at this point of time in my life, I think maybe I would have not gotten into all the family issues of family thing of getting married. It is a huge responsibility. I think since I'm more motivated towards doing something now at this point of time in my life for the society, I still have to wait till my commitments are over, right? Like see my kids at an independent stage. So it is like I have to like put off my plans, right? So I won't advise this to everybody, but this is what I think. Maybe if I had not gotten married or something, maybe I would have started this much earlier in my life, and I would have more time to serve the society in a better way. Okay, and greatest achievement, satisfaction you've ever had as a woman in STEM? Yes, I think the biggest accomplishment or achievement I would say is two things I would say, like seeing your research scholars graduate and take up good positions, either in academia or in industry, okay, or some of them have also joined societal like NGO groups. Seeing it is like having your own research family, right? And see the next generation of researchers going on to produce the third generation of researchers successfully moving on in their career. I think that gives a great satisfaction to any academic person, okay, to see their students succeed. Particularly my women research scholars, because I know what the struggle they had faced throughout their PhD and how they had overcome that, and I'm really proud of all my women research scholars who have accomplished and made it big in their career. Then the second one I'm really happy about is making a change in the life of people, where in the places where I work, particularly as I told you, in remediation projects, we do lake restoration projects, we do groundwater remediation projects, and wherever we go, I think there is a lot of contact with the community, and the community has a lot of expectation when a person from a high profile institute has come to understand their problem and to study their water pollution in that area. So recently we were in Ennur, where the thermal power plants have dumped a large quantity of fly ash into rivers, and the fishermen, many fishermen villages are impacted by this. They've lost their livelihood because there's no more fish in the pond. They are inhaling the ash. So when you are there communicating with them, they think that you're going to solve all their problems, and they just pour out to you, and then comes your desire to go and give your 100% to solve their problem. And even if you are solving it may be a long process, but at least if you are able to achieve one at a time, and it gives you a lot of satisfaction. I think that is the highest level of satisfaction anybody can get in any career. Okay, the touching the human life, even in a small way, I think that gives immense satisfaction. And I'm happy I'm in a field which directly helps me to do that.